The Battle of Hastings in 1066 is widely regarded as one of the most significant events in English history, a watershed moment that not only determined the country's ruler but also fundamentally reshaped its culture, language, governance, and society. This pivotal clash between the Anglo-Saxons, led by Harold Godwinson, and the Normans, led by William the Conqueror, was far more than a military engagement. It was the culmination of years of political intrigue, ambition, and rivalry that would leave a permanent imprint on England's destiny. The roots of the conflict can be traced to the death of Edward the Confessor, King of England, in January 1066. Edward had ruled England for nearly 24 years, a reign marked by relative peace but significant political maneuvering among the country's noble families. However, Edward's greatest failure was his lack of an heir, which created a succession crisis upon his death. With no clear successor, the English throne became a prize contested by powerful claimants, each with their own ambitions and justifications for ruling. The first to seize the opportunity was Harold Godwinson, Earl of Wessex, the most powerful nobleman in England and a trusted advisor to Edward. Harold was crowned king shortly after Edward's death, with the support of the White Najmot, a council of nobles and clergy that had significant influence in determining succession. Harold's claim was bolstered by his prominence as a military leader and statesman, as well as his close ties to Edward. However, Harold's ascension to the throne did not go unchallenged. Across the English Channel in Normandy, William, Duke of Normandy, asserted that he had been promised the English crown by Edward years earlier. Norman accounts also claim that Harold had sworn an oath of fealty to William during a visit to Normandy, an oath allegedly made on holy relics, which the Normans argued gave William a divine right to the throne. William was not the only rival Harold had to contend with. In Scandinavia, Harald Hardrada, King of Norway, also laid claim to the English throne. Hardrada's justification stemmed from an earlier agreement between the Danish and Norwegian royal houses that aimed to unite their kingdoms and secure control over England. With three powerful contenders vying for the crown, 1066 was set to become a year of dramatic conflict. Harold's challenges began in September 1066 when Harald Hardrada launched an invasion of northern England. Hardrada was accompanied by Harold Godwinson's estranged brother, Tostig, who sought to regain power after being exiled by Harold years earlier. The Norwegian forces initially triumphed at the Battle of Fulford, defeating local English forces near York. However, Harold Godwinson responded with astonishing speed and decisiveness, leading his army on a grueling march north to confront the invaders. On September 25, at Stamford Bridge, Harold achieved a decisive victory, defeating Hardrada's forces and killing both Hardrada and Tostig. This battle marked the end of the Viking threat to England but came at a high cost. Harold's army was severely weakened, and his troops were exhausted from the long march and the intense battle. While Harold celebrated his victory in the north, news reached him that William, Duke of Normandy, had landed on the southern coast of England. William's invasion had been meticulously planned. Over the summer, he had gathered a formidable army of approximately 7,000 men, including infantry, archers, and heavily armed cavalry. He also secured the backing of the Pope, who issued a papal banner blessing William's campaign as a righteous endeavor to claim what was rightfully his. This religious endorsement strengthened William's position and lent legitimacy to his cause. On September 28, 1066, William's fleet of around 700 ships landed at Pevensey on the Sussex coast. The Normans quickly established a fortified base and began pillaging the surrounding countryside, hoping to provoke Harold into action. Harold, upon hearing of William's landing, made the fateful decision to march his army south to confront the Norman threat. Despite his troops' fatigue from the northern campaign, Harold pushed his forces to move swiftly, covering nearly 200 miles in less than 2 weeks. By October 13, Harold's army had reached the area near Hastings, where they positioned themselves on Senlac Hill. This location offered a tactical advantage, as the hill provided high ground from which Harold could deploy his troops. Harold's strategy centered on the use of the shield wall, a defensive formation composed of tightly packed rows of soldiers with overlapping shields. This tactic had proven effective in previous battles and was designed to repel both infantry and cavalry attacks. The Battle of Hastings began early on the morning of October 14, 1066. William's forces, a well-organized mix of infantry, archers, and cavalry, advanced on Harold's position. The Normans opened the battle with a barrage of arrows, but Harold's shield wall held firm. The Norman infantry and cavalry then launched repeated charges up the hill, but the Anglo-Saxon defenders repelled each assault with discipline and determination. For much of the day, it seemed that Harold's strategy might succeed, as the shield wall remained unbroken and the Normans struggled to gain ground. However, William demonstrated remarkable adaptability and leadership on the battlefield. Observing that parts of Harold's army broke ranks to pursue retreating Norman troops, William devised a clever strategy. He ordered his forces to feign retreat, luring segments of the English army into breaking formation and abandoning the safety of the shield wall. This tactic proved devastating, as the Normans exploited the gaps created by the disorganized English troops. With the shield wall weakened, the Normans renewed their attacks with greater intensity, using their cavalry to devastating effect. The turning point of the battle came in its later stages when Harold Godwinson was killed. According to the Bayeux Tapestry, Harold was struck in the eye by an arrow, though other accounts suggest he may have been killed in close combat. Regardless of the exact circumstances, Harold's death was a catastrophic blow to the morale of the Anglo-Saxon forces. Leaderless and disheartened, the English army began to disintegrate, and the Normans pressed their advantage, securing a decisive victory. The aftermath of the Battle of Hastings was profound. William the Conqueror, as he came to be known, marched on London, facing little resistance as the remnants of Harold's supporters scattered. On Christmas Day 1066, William was crowned King of England at Westminster Abbey, marking the beginning of Norman rule. However, William's consolidation of power was far from easy. Over the following years, he faced numerous rebellions and uprisings from Anglo-Saxon nobles and the populace, who resisted the Norman occupation. To solidify his rule, William implemented sweeping changes across England. He redistributed land to his Norman followers, replacing the Anglo-Saxon elite with Norman nobles and establishing a feudal system that centralized power under the monarchy. The Normans also introduced monumental architectural innovations, constructing castles such as the Tower of London to assert their dominance and provide military strongholds. The Domesday Book, a comprehensive survey of England's lands and resources, was commissioned to aid in administration and taxation, reflecting William's thorough approach to governance. Culturally, the Norman conquest had a lasting impact on England. The fusion of Norman French with Old English gave rise to a new linguistic foundation that influenced the development of the English language. Norman customs, laws, and traditions blended with Anglo-Saxon practices, creating a unique cultural synthesis that shaped England's identity for generations. The Battle of Hastings was far more than a military engagement. It was a turning point that transformed the political, social, and cultural fabric of England. William's victory at Hastings marked the end of Anglo-Saxon rule and the beginning of a new chapter in English history, one defined by Norman influence and innovation. The events of 1066 remain a powerful symbol of resilience, ambition, and the enduring impact of a single day on the course of history. This monumental clash is a reminder of how the outcomes of battles can shape nations, cultures, and identities for centuries to come.